all somewhere in my numerous pages. Oh my god.
Yeah, so it's
Can you
live, and
still
if
see me? Okay, okay, okay. Oh,
it's
okay, sorry.
live,
The poster came on, I got confused.
so Vinit, I'm so happy and pleased to have you on board. And yeah, today is the day for the people who really care about sound. And we have Vinit. Uh, he's a big sound designer and humble. Definitely, he will say like, no, I don't work that much. I'm a philosopher. I'm not a sound designer. But
True
yeah,
that.
he worked a lot. And recently, people are talking about Pataal Lok day and night. So yeah, this is the man behind the sound design of Pataal Lok and so many
Yeah, it's
other
done well.
production. Like
Touch wood.
if I want to start, then it will not end. So slowly will unfold. And
Yeah.
we have Shriya Rawat. She's from
Hi.
India. She's my friend and also will co-host this show today. And yeah, I think it'll be a fun.
Yeah.
So I'm giving the floor first to not Shreya, to Vinit, if you want to say something in Bangla to our audience in Bangladesh.
Oh my gosh. Okay, that's a big one. Now all I can do is cam on. Does cam on work?
Come on,
Yes.
Came on
come on,
Acho.
Acho.
Cam on acho. I mean, I think even cam on works. It's like WhatsApp.
Right,
So
right,
yeah,
right.
thank you so much for having me on. Yeah, and likewise here, equally excited and more than happy to talk about sound whenever. So yeah.
Wow, perfect. And Shreya,
Yeah,
you
hi
wanna say
everyone
something?
who's watching us live. Hi Vinith, hi Arif. Thank you for giving me the chance of co-hosting this. Um, should I start with the very basic question? Since I'm also from a film school, Vinith, this is the
Mhm.
first question they ask us in introductory sessions. Why?
No, 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 no. Oh,
No,
okay.
no, no.
No, I thought you're gonna come on with the what is cinema? That sort of
No, that is very redundant.
No
define
way.
cinema types. Yeah,
No, no,
okay.
no.
Yes.
So
So I'm sorry. Huh.
I'll ask about your specialty, which is sound. So, why does one get interested in sound? When does it happen in life? And we know that you're from a film school.
Mhm.
So, after passing out, how do you choose your, between location sound versus the sound design, which is the post production part? How do you choose your fields after having studied it? We'll start from there.
Oh my God, that's a big long question. Piece by piece. Let's take it piece by piece. You said
Yeah,
the why of getting into sound. Yeah.
yeah.
Mm.
Okay, first things first. I'm sorry if I keep looking around because I tend to zone out and go into my brain to start thinking. So I may often stare into somewhere and look like stupid, but no. Yeah. Sorry, Shreya. Once more, one by one. First
Why
question,
sound?
please.
First question, why
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 sound?
sound?
sound? Okay, wait there. Why sound? Because possibly there was nothing else. Um, every individual has a different story, you know. So, in my case, it started off. It happened more than being, a fixed focus plan. Like, okay, I know Ben Burt is a great designer, or XYZ does ABC, and there are numerous names that inspire us, and numerous filmmakers whom we look up to and want to work with. But that being said, before all this, for me, after my 10th, for example, I couldn't see myself doing anything else but science. I didn't understand. I've discussed with Arif before. I didn't understand. I didn't understand money. So basically, like I just didn't get it. The whole commerce thing. My elder brother was doing commerce in college in school. Well, I was in the
Mm.
10th getting done. So science was automatic. And then even after science, nothing else but physics made sense to me. So that was it. And I mean, it wasn't like a super excellent student. Otherwise, I'd be doing an MSc or something, a PhD somewhere, not sound. Yeah. So and then there were dreams of wanting to be a fighter pilot, to which my dad was worried and said I'd delay the war. So he said, "Okay, bhai, dekh le." So, but luckily I have knock knees, so I didn't get it.
Bachpan
Luckily or
mein.
unluckily. Now I'm saying luckily because now it's kind of worked out or seems to have. But yeah, so then wanted to be a fighter pilot. Did some NCC for a few years, and since I had physics and while I was doing all of that, actually music has been. I mean, even in our families, like my
Mm-hmm.
mom's side, ever since they were growing up, every evening after the rosary, you say your prayers, and then there's a little hymn depending on the time of the year that's sung. So everybody in the family, so there's that group singing thing. So I mean, there's been that surtal thing coming through mom also, and even dad used to tinkle with the guitar and play The Great Escape when we were kids. So then, we took to music, and he used to listen to some nice music like Sting and stuff like that. The Police back then. So yeah, gradually music was there, and then mom got us to playing for the choir in church. So my
Mm.
elder brother used to do the keyboard, and I started the guitar. And then I
Wow.
started. I actually wanted to learn the guitar, but my guitar teacher came over and said, "No, teach him the violin because he seems to have a brain for it." So I was like, "Okay." So I did the violin, performed in some school contests, embarrassed my elder brother. All of that happened, and yeah, from there, then we grew up, and interest in a band then happened. So again, that music thing, that Kida kept on. And I remember even when we used to have this in school, we used to have theater performances. So I used to
Mm.
always kind of enjoy being behind the mixer and seeing what is happening and playing with speakers and twiddling knobs here and there. So that kind of was always there. Which yeah, once my Air Force thing didn't happen, I had done some summer jobs after college then in the middle of your college years, like between first year, second year, between second year, third year. So it's like empty. I mean, you got summer vacations, rather make some money, whatever little it is. So I remember, I think my first job was for some $3,500 a month. But
Oh.
that was like, I think 15 years ago or something. I don't even remember. That was what, 2000, yeah. Maybe, yeah, 2000 to 2003. So I did two small stints, one with a bank, Standard Chartered, and another one with, who were they?
In a bank?
In a bank, yeah.
Yeah,
Wow.
not a bad bank.
In a bank. Yeah, Standard Chartered Bank, and the other one was Tata Teleservices,
Wow.
where you got to go in at 10:30 and you're dying for 5:30 because you can take those headphones and throw them out. And but the sad part of the learning, there was learning on both the jobs. Standard Chartered taught me I'd never be able to work under anybody ever.
Okay.
Like, in a way, I don't like being. You got to be answerable, but why didn't you come at 10:30, and why was your coffee break
Mm.
longer than 20 minutes? And like, come on. So, and the worst part is the feeling of it was what I was doing at this one was, that was the time when the CDMA mobiles and all were just coming in. So people didn't really understand the technology, and that's when it also went public to the masses in India. So there'd be
Mm.
people calling who don't know how to use their phone, who don't know that the same menu button turns into another yes or no button, and they wouldn't be even be able to pronounce those names. I wouldn't if I wasn't like, if I didn't have my upbringing like Kyocera and stuff like that. And then it's some stories end up being so sad, and I kind of thoda sensitive aadmi hai.
Oh,
So, matlab, I'd listen to people for 45 minutes, and this guy, my team leader, would tell me, dude, finish the call, finish the call. I'm like, how do you finish the call? You got to listen to this person venting, yeah? Like, have a heart. So then again, and that too, I took that job up because by then I had decided, okay, I don't want to. Yeah, before that I had done two, and then this Tata thing happened. So there was one
Mm.
with, I don't remember the name of the bank, but that was about recovery. So calling people for their money. For somebody else's money, and I hate money anyway. So I mean, किसी का पैसा बाकी है तो मैं क्यों फोन करके उसको बोलूं भाई दे दे, वो मेरा भी पैसा नहीं है, किसी और का है ना, तो वो खुद फोन करेगा. So that job also. So then I'd done those two, and then this is after college. I joined Tata on my dad's insistence that you're doing nothing. Okay, chalo, you don't want to work under somebody till you're figuring out what you want to do. Do this. I mean, don't waste
Hmm.
time. So I was like,
Fair
okay,
enough.
let me. I gave it a month. I got fried again. But luckily, by the end of it, also what happened was in the third year of college, our college we have this Culfest where the third year students put up a little play for the juniors and all that. So while doing that, I don't know why it came to my head that people sitting behind in the amphitheater might not be able to hear the dialogues. So I
Hmm.
don't know why, but we started fiddling. We ended up fiddling on Cool Edit Pro, and we recorded all the dialogues, and we actually put together that whole. I don't know how long it was,
Mm.
and we also approached the Jesuit priests have this media arm usually. I mean, wherever they have
Hmm.
a church and a school, they'll also have a little studio or something. So these guys had a studio, and that was called Ishwani. Sorry, not Ishwani. That was Gurjarwani. So at Gurjarwani, there was this priest called Father Rappai, who two of my uncles are priests, my mom's side. So I have a decent footing in the priestly circles.
Yeah.
That being said, so we approached Father Rappai. That we need a quiet room, and we won't use your mics. We have a mic, we have a laptop. We want the silence. So then he saw, okay, bhai, there is some kida in this boy. So he recommended to my mom that I should go and do this short course in audio engineering. That was like basics of sound, not even audio engineering, a basics 20-day course in Pune, in Yerwada, where that was the beginning. So there again, they had one of their junior priests who had come to train since technologies were changing. So they saw I was a little friendly with computers, and I kind of got the drift of what is happening. I think that was the first time I touched Pro Tools, and that was like Pro Tools 1.5. So
Wow.
many years ago. So yeah, this was 2003, I think. Yes, yeah. So I did
2003.
that course. Yeah, that was immediately after college. Matlab college khatam hua, then I did this Tata thing for a month and a half, teleservices, and then I went to Pune for this course. I met the father who recommended. We'd gone for a
Hmm.
Shubha Mudgal concert, my mom and me. So we met
Hmm.
Father Appai there, and he recommended, "Ki bhai, ye kar le." So I was like, okay. So I went, met, and there was with this other junior priest, and then they saw potential. So they called me back because they were getting some new systems in with a sound card and a heavy duty computer that was like so tall. So they were getting like a serious machine, and they wanted somebody to help install and all. So I was doing my fiddling, and I managed to get their thing up and running and whatever. So gradually word spread ki bhai, and I mean I did some archival work there. I spent a good 6 months, not making a lot of money at all. In fact, I remember there were some very lovely projects there. There was this group that came in from Basque country, which is near Spain, and they play this instrument called the chalaparta, which is like a big wooden xylophone, which is actually used to communicate between hills.
Okay.
Wow.
So Basque country currently
Hmm.
is fighting for independence from Spain. So this big wooden xylophone, it's like a big table, and you play it.
Hmm.
And so they were collaborating with Carnatic music, and I got the chance to record it since they had come through the Jesuit network or whatever. So long and short is there was one of the loops which I still remember. Uh, this guy who was playing the mridang just couldn't get it. And
Hmm.
it was stuck in my head. I can still hear the thing, 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 thing. तो मतलब मेरे को अब तक याद है वो, but he just wouldn't get it. So it kept ringing in my head, and then with the fan at night sleeping, तक उसका भी tempo चल रहा है, वही दिमाग में बज रहा है, वही, and then it kind of haunts you, and you're thinking कि मैं क्या कर रहा हूँ life में, पैसे नहीं आ रहे, and working at this studio which is like, I mean, it's not really commercial and it just doesn't look like a job. And so it was really tough that initial phase after this course. But once that interface got famous, so more studios started getting it. And then in the next 6-8 months, in fact, in the next year and a half, I was like happily freelancing with almost like 7-8 studios in and around Ahmedabad.
Hmm.
Since I'm born and brought up in Ahmedabad. But primary work there is again mostly religious based. So माता का नाम change कर दो, next song ready, next album ready, so that sort of stuff. So again, that is not very fulfilling in terms of
Obviously.
yeah, it's kind of mundane, and I'm a D'Souza on top of it. Like, cut me
Yeah.
some slack. So, so yeah. But I still continue to do that. So there were studios in Anand, Visnagar, in obviously in Ahmedabad, in Patan, this place called Patan. So there was like 7 8 places, and I was pretty happy making $700 a day, going by local ST bus. सुबह को चले जाओ. Depending on how far the place was, you go spend 2 3 days, come back, continue with life. So it was kind of, things were kind of smoothish.
How long? How long you work there? I can't.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, perfect.
Better now?
Better.
Okay. Yeah. So you were saying something in the middle. Sorry.
Yeah, the sound is really good now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My fingerprint.
No, I asked like how long you work in that way, like at
So
700
this went
bucks per
on for
day.
a good 2 years in the music scene in
Oh wow,
Ahmedabad. So I
wow.
met a variety of musicians there, and it came to a point where the music director wouldn't come for the for the chorus sessions, because he'd know I'll figure it out. And I remember recording. We used to do group rhythm. So
Hmm.
the moment anything went off, I would like, or by default spacebar दब के stop हो जाता था. That was then Nuendo.
Hmm.
So then I shifted from, matlab, we learned, we learned Nuendo at, no, we saw Pro Tools, but then I started off doing Nuendo. And
Hmm.
then, that same Father Rappai asked me that I should try for the FTI.
Oh, he
And
was like your mentor, guiding you at every step.
God's hand.
Yeah.
Oh God's
Bhagwan
hand.
ka hath, you never know, yeah. So,
And the heaven is FTI.
heaven, heaven and hell and everything is here only, Baba. It's all here. There is no yesterday, there is no tomorrow. It's all now. So,
Yeah.
anyways, yeah, let's not go philosophical as I usually do or tend to. So where were we? Yeah, so I did the music scene for 2 years. In fact, in the middle, I applied to the FTI. There was some
Hmm.
confusion, in the sense I had a doubt if I could fill both the film and the TV exams, because there's two exams. So I was in a doubt: can I tick both on the same form or not, or will they cancel my thing completely if I end up goofing up? So for safety, I said, let me call them. So I called, and once they said, no, you can't tick both, you can choose any one. So I said, okay. And then to double check again, I called. Then they said, yes, yeah, you can. I'm like, Arey, what is this? So then I called a third time, and they were like, no, you can't. So I'm like, okay, bang it. So I just ended up ticking on the film, and I didn't go for I didn't do the television exam thing. So that year, they told me, Arey, you have work happening. Why are you, like, what's wrong with you? Like, why do you want to do a course? And I'm like, dude, formal education and training, come on.
Yeah.
I mean, it makes a difference. So that being said, first year I didn't get through. Although started, in fact, I met a few friends who already, I mean, people, and I ended up getting through till the orientation program. So we ended up getting ragged together. So it was good fun, and there's still. So the next year I ticked both because they let me.
Okay.
In fact, I gave the film exam in the morning, and I had a music session in the afternoon. I said, "Ki chalo, I'll give the exam and come." And then the musicians in the afternoon session, they were like, "Are you crazy? You're not going for the FTI exam? Are you mad? No, 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 go, go, go." So they pushed me, because I was like, dude, I mean, I really didn't know what was in store for me. Nobody does. That being said, I then went and gave the exam, and luckily got through the television exam, and I did
Hmm.
the crash course, as we call it. And my thing is, it helped because I already had a prior exposure to the music scene. I'd done some recording, some mixing, as per what I knew mixing was. I mean, now you listen to those CDs. I don't even listen to them. I can't listen to them because I don't know what I'll think of what I've done. That was like 10 15 years ago. So yeah, so that happened, and then once FTI happened, my playing stopped, the music stopped. In fact, until before Pataal Lok itself, like last year, until Avinash came back and driving, chalo gana chala do kuch, while you're on a drive to and from shoot. Otherwise, I'd prefer listening to the ambience of your car. I've learned. I mean, got that from my dad. He never installed a system in the car
Hmm.
because you can listen to what the car is telling you instead
Yeah.
of getting distracted on the road with other nonsense. So
Wow.
you'd rather. So there are these trickles that have come in through DNA somewhere.
Yeah.
So like yeah, so yeah, I prefer driving without any distraction. And yeah, step one to step two, and then once FTI started, that was the end of it. Then it's been only short films, documentaries, and
Hmm.
making sense to visuals from there, basically.
But
So
after
that
completing your
So
course, like
yeah.
how did you
after
decide on
FTI,
location
oh,
versus home?
uh, okay. Immediately after completing, I had met a few seniors, of which one very fantastic senior of ours from the institute, Mr. Raj Mule.
Hmm.
Fantastic advice he gave me then. Okay, beta, you don't have a choice. You
Okay.
take whatever comes your way quietly and do it and make your money. Because everybody knows that I mean, with an education and with the network that FTII and SR have, and now with a lot of film schools with the network, you do keep getting work, but the thing is, there is still a bit of struggle. Nobody's going to give
Yeah.
you, a whole this thing in your hand. You won't get the whole thali initially. You might have to
Mhm.
manage with the crumbs of somebody else's bread, basically. Which is what we also did. So after FTI, again, a good 5-6 months went in tension. Again, staring at the fan, give fuck, what am I doing with my life and all that. Oops, sorry, bad language. But
It's fine.
but yeah, so then
No censorship.
and yeah, no censorship. So then January came by, and I remember in this whole thing of meeting seniors, I'd also met my mentor, and he who has his hand on me, I call him Geraji. His name is Mr. Neeraj Gera. He's a wonderful person and has done some fantastic work. So he had a setup in his house where we did Vadu. I had gone to his house to ask for like Kam De Do if you have anything. So he had this film which needed a pilot recording done for a Marathi regional feature which he had gotten to do as designer. So he pulled me on, and yeah, I did pilot for that film. Then I did some dubbings for some of Kamod Kharade is another senior who's Gera's batchmate. I entered Bombay. They finished their film course at the same time as in 2007. In 2006, sorry, I did my television course 2005-6. So I was in Bombay in six, and they were in Bombay after their 3-year course. So which obviously took 5 years, but so I mean we entered Bombay the same time. So he had a film to do, and Kamod was also getting his own work. So did some dubbings here, there. Initially, the usual struggle, and a lot of documentary work, which I think the docu work gave me that sort of confidence in the sense of being able to pull off a feature. My first
So
feature,
I
sorry,
really want to know a little bit about this. Like, can you elaborate a little bit, like how a documentary will help you to do better in future,
um,
because the workflow is different. I mean, for the sound, we always have to do
workflow. How is it
very
different?
like the feature film, or it's quite big, the environment, the crew, and the arrangement and everything. But the documentary you can do like with only one people, and the director, and sometimes like only the sound designer and the sound recordist and the director. So I really want to know like how you are relating the documentary
Uh,
workflow and the fiction.
yeah, why I'm saying it is because similarly, even with picture, I think being able to
Hmm.
shoot a documentary and doing it, and getting the juice out of the story, like if you're doing a docu on a maid, or if it's on a social worker, or if it's on a crimes in Haryana. So if you're dealing
Hmm.
with a subject, and while that person is talking, you're thinking on your feet that is a better angle. you know I had this particular model number of the boom mic, or this particular lav mic I was working with, and I had managed to place it very quickly on the artist, or the artist was talking about a sensitive subject and there was no time to do that. So you managed with the boom, but you managed with a decent boom. What I have, one thing I've always done and told my producers is don't. I mean, you may not pay me, but pay at least for the equipment, and pay for good
Mm.
equipment, because you never know once you get content, and if it, you never know where it will go finally.
Yeah.
Like I have made my mistakes, mixed a few documentaries in a small room and realized it was getting projected in a theater across somewhere, and
Mm.
it sounded like hell because I
Yeah.
had not addressed the low end completely. So those
Yeah.
kind of experiences and learnings have also happened, but and then working again on those tracks, so you kind of get a confidence in the type of mics and what
Got
they
it.
can do, and eventually
Mm.
when you're like, for another short film I did very recently, sorry, last year, it was called Bebak.
Devak.
uh,
Yeah.
yeah, so that film again, there were sequences which we have shot in crazy amounts of rain,
Mm. Yeah.
and my faith in the MKH50, which is an indoor hyper cardioid mic. How lovely. So I'm like that vendor
Devak.
selling my ideas. This is sound design. See. So basically, yeah, my confidence in those mics, because it was raining like hell in Bindi Bazaar when we were shooting that interview,
Mm.
but we have managed to escape without it sounding like the amount of rain.
Mm.
So which mics, why mics, so that ways doing documentaries has helped in taking decisions, and in deciding why this and why not that. That's what I'm also, like I told you,
Got
okay,
it.
bhai,
Got
this
it.
is a better angle. Your
Yeah. Yeah.
artist
Yeah.
is nervous and playing with their fingers, so you want to take that close shot, stuff like that.
Mm.
Then you start thinking on, and then when you're doing fiction, you kind of put all that together, and then when you're doing
Same.
design.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Exactly. Like, see,
So
this vendor passing by, I have noticed a million times in life. In fact, what I have noticed is when I'm in a good mood and I'm having a good day and I'm playing some nice music early in the morning, that blooming vendor will sing in Sur and Tal and go by. And if I'm having a bad day, that vendor will ring in my head like nobody's business. Matlab it such I mean, things are just in the groove or not, depending on if you are in a good or bad place. So I mean, it's all one crazy game, man. So good fun though.
yeah. Shreya.
So I think we have already started talking about location sound, right? So can you tell us some more about your process? Like how do you prep for shoots, and how early on do you associate yourself with the projects? It might differ from one project to another, but you can take a case study of maybe any of your films.
uh, you can prep all you want, but what will eventually happen is obviously may or may not be in your control. So
But do
I've
you
had,
believe in prepping?
of course,
Right.
you better
Yeah.
have you got to know which pocket you got the knife in, which pocket you got the machine gun in, which pocket you got the blade in, right? Because when you go to war, suddenly you're looking for the blade and the knife, and you're saying, "Oh shit, where's the gun?" By that time, it's
Mm.
finished. You don't have time. So you got to prep. Obviously, you got to know what you're getting into, and you got to preempt what sort of situations you are going to get into. Is it going to be loud, soft? What sort of pants you want to wear?
Hmm.
If you want to wear, if you need rain gear or not, if you're going to be in deep slick,
Hmm.
the sand, the mud of the hills of Satara, and
Hmm.
your
Mm.
film involves rain also, you will need a pair of gumboots, otherwise you cannot operate, and
Yeah.
you will need rain protection. So depend, you obviously got to prep, and you will need a very strong umbrella, because it's you who are causing the rain with your rain machines. It's not natural rain, and it could be natural rain because we're shooting in September end.
Hmm.
So you got
Mhm.
to think about where you are. It's just like where we were. I mean, you got to recce and figure out where the sun will rise, because where you will get your good shots.
Hmm.
Similarly, you have to go and check if there's a factory around or a masjid around or whatever around. And even after you've checked and done a million things, and you do a recce in Mud Island here in Bombay, for example, and you're like, okay, all good, and you go back and it happens to be the mating season of crows. So God help you, so, I mean, stuff happens. There's things you can do stuff about, and there's things you can't. So I'd rather go and prep and face my devil. मतलब जो दुश्मन है उसको मैं यहाँ रखेगा तो और भी मजा आएगा.
Hmm.
Rather than कि नहीं है, दुश्मन नहीं है कोई. And then
Mm.
afterwards,
Mm.
And then also, then again, if you have a problem when you're shooting, then you discuss it with whoever is in control, who can give you a solution. For example, if on Patal Lok, where they built the police station, that was, I mean, when we had planned that we will get a nice quiet section, but it didn't happen, and whatever. So then the generator ended up being right there, and you're like, okay, now what? And that's an important chunk, and there's multiple actors and actors from all across the country, and you don't want to call people in for dubbing because dubbing is a pain in
Mm.
the backside, you know. And dubbing is criminal, like I've discussed with Arif earlier. It's just a criminal procedure because you are taking that poor actor who has already done the same, who has already gotten into the scene and who's already gotten the emotion right. You're taking them to a dubbing studio and saying, "Dude, do it again, please."
Yeah.
And do it. अरे नहीं ये नहीं आया मजा नहीं आया वो नहीं
Once
आया
more.
अरे shut up यार come on you know
Yeah.
rather harness the energy on set.
Yeah.
And yeah, so sorry, I forgot the question.
Um,
What was I
Yeah,
you
ranting
answered
about?
it. You answered it perfectly.
you
I
already
suppose.
answered it, but
Yeah,
I really want to
sync
go.
basically. The crow
I,
example was your example of prepping but things not being in your control. Yeah, so the Patal Lok example I basically gave you because then what we ended up doing is I had such lovely producers that I made them,
mm,
I told them this, "Ki boss, dekho, you'll have to call artists up and down, and that's going to be a pain in the backside. I'd rather put little money in, maybe half that dubbing cost if you put in, and we erect one, what do
mm,
you call them? Those glass, simple, not glass, apna, these boards. Uh, the transparent, patla whiteboard, transparent board, so you can't see through it. And even Avinash
okay.
is sensitive to sound, and even Prosit is, and I mean even Sudeep Sharma, who is our showrunner. I mean, I spoke to them. All of them saw sense in what I was saying. So they did actually agree, and they passed out. I mean, they did pass a budget for, because that was an expense, right? You suddenly can't get like 15 by
Yeah.
15 feet of, you know,
Mm,
transparent nakli glass board jo lagate hain, acrylic sheet. That's what they call.
actually,
So they actually ended up covering almost a decent, I'd say, 25 feet by 15 feet, which is a lot of money
wow.
also, not a joke.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But see, you got to have their support, and you got to be talking sense, because if I wasn't bullshitting them, you know, there are scenes that, then that's the police station. You're going to, and you guys, I mean, I don't know if you guys have seen Patal Lok or not, but there's
Yeah.
quite a bit of, there's quite a bit in the police station. And all those
Yeah.
scenes are quiet scenes where, I mean, some are loud and yelling, but most of them are just normal conversation where even, I mean, and you again, you never tell actors to go loud because energy utna hi hai na bhai. मैं गुस्से में तो ऐसे ही बोलेगा. I don't need to be shouting if I'm angry, you know. So, I mean, yeah. So you got to be. I mean, it's situation to situation. Every day is different. Every production is different. Every situation is different. You just have to do the best you can, basically. And yeah, you have
So
to prep, and you have to, yeah.
I have a relevant question. Like I want to
Hmm.
go a little bit earlier of the process of your work. Like
Mm-hmm.
if we take Patal Lok as a case,
Mm-hmm.
which stage actually you got on board? Like script stage or like even before that? And
No, I had they worked on the script for a good 2 years, and I came in. I mean, we had the script nicely baked and ready. It's such a lovely,
Mhm.
the whole experience, like I told you, I mean, a fantastic script and wonderful people to work with, and everybody does their bits, and we end up building a nice piece of work.
But
So yeah,
usually, what happened like with other production, specifically if I
it's
say any
been,
films?
yeah, most films come to you with a bound script because they do get produced formally, and they have somebody pumping money, so it's already something that's at least a draft 2 stage, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But I have done some short films with friends which have started, like a very good friend of mine called Arun Sukumar. I
Okay.
mean, this idea came to his head. We were sitting on his couch, and the idea came to his head while he was typing on his machine. I was like, yeah, that's nice. And then he wrote a line or two, and then that film I was involved since then, you know. So I mean,
Mm-hmm.
but the bigger films usually come to you with a bound script because they don't get the funding otherwise. And the sound guy
Got
is
it.
the last you're looking for. You'd rather look for your actors and
Yeah.
everything else but the sound guy. So yeah, usually, yeah. That's how it is. But yeah, it's nicest to come in when one can. In fact, even on Pataal Lok, the script was locked, but then on set while shooting, what tends to happen is you also have feelings, right? So you felt something was right or not right. Now it's up to you to
Hmm.
voice your opinion. You know,
Yeah.
if I choose to stay quiet and say, "Ha, nahi, acha, acha, acha," if I felt something, I will voice my opinion. I will not stay quiet. I mean, if I felt something is right or wrong and whatever, so I tend to. I mean, so even on Pataal Lok, they were kind enough to take a few suggestions, which were things that for me, feeling wise, on another film, if I feel an actor hasn't said a word through the whole film and there's only one thing he says, which is the name of his wife,
Hmm.
and that too at a point of time where, matlab, he's like a low caste guy doing his stuff very quietly, but nothing else
Hmm.
is said between the family except one word. And kya bolega, kaise bolega, it just came to me also. So I just, you suggest things and depend, and then you got to choose whom to say what to.
Yeah.
All actors are not very receptive about suggestions, so you
Hmm.
might want to go tell your director or go check with the cameraman before telling the director. If you find, I mean, I do have a good rapport usually with most humans. So, like, if I find something is not right in a frame, I'll go and check with the cameraman first. कि यार सुनना ऐसा कुछ off लग रहा है क्या? So then, instead of going and doing tunny with the director, then otherwise the cameraman feels like, "You idiot, why didn't you come and tell, who asked you to go and do 2 bits there?" Because I don't want to like burn bridges anywhere, and I am the kind of person who I won't like. I'm not a chugli fellow. I'd go and discuss, and if it's an actor who's approachable, then you might want to go and tell him, and then that actor might end up saying, "Yeah, dude, like, lovely suggestion, thank you so much." So, and some director may feel bad. How dare you go and talk to my actors? That depends.
Hmm.
So you got to be really careful, gauge every situation, and like use your head and not be stupid, basically. So yeah, that ways.
Yeah.
I wanted
Nice.
to again
Sure.
come back to your prepping process.
Oh
Does the
yes.
prep work differ when you're also doing the sound design, like in case of
No,
Patalo?
no. I don't.
And
I tend. I tend. Oh, sorry. Cut your question. You finish your question first.
like in
Finish.
Sacred Games, I think you just did the location sound.
Only location. Yeah.
Yeah.
But no, I tend to think design wise. Like when I
Hmm.
usually when I can't read a script in a noisy room. I need to be in a studio because I start hearing things and then I go mad. And I can't have distractions around me because, sorry, but I'm a sound guy. So I'd prefer locking myself in somewhere, not listening to anything else, and letting the script talk to me. Or
Hmm.
I prefer a narration from the director, which is a wonderful experience because you get to know what's in the person's mind, or a reading.
Yeah.
That's immensely important. How
Hmm. Hmm.
I conceive a man running madly with a knife in his hand after another man, and another person imagines and what angles they have in their mind. I can imagine a matrix, but it's not a matrix, it's a Black
Hmm.
Friday. So it's fantastic to have narrations or readings, but if not, then a script. You start hearing things. Initially one tries to read it in a flow, and if it's good, I have noticed most of the films I've done, like even Ishkiya, which I assisted on, for the longest time I hadn't read the script, but I read it, and I read it in an hour and a half flat. So the first lady kept pegging me, saying, "You're assisting, you're assisting. How can you not have read the script?" And I'm like, "Dude, just go with the flow. No, we come from a docu world. You on your feet, you think what's happening." So anyway, that one I ended up reading in an hour and a half. NH10 I ended up reading now. So all of these are very tight scripts, which luckily have come my way, and even reading them has been lovely fun, which is why you end up doing them. No? And there's
Hmm.
also sometimes calls that come where people are asking you as if you're a bag of potatoes. Ke, Acha, but what will you charge? Bhai, you have Goda, you have Banduk, you have lightsaber, Star Wars. What are you doing first? Tell me that. No, so,
Hmm.
so a variety of people come to you, but luckily I have been approached by sensible people. And yeah, then you ask for a script. You tell them, dude, acha, budget is this much, but script to bhejo. And that's the typical sort of work which I have been fortunate enough to have avoided so far. So yeah, that being said, involvement is best from pre-script if your people are open to ideas,
Yeah.
and then the later you get in, you just try to do the best you can. I mean, yeah,
So before
I hope I
going to the
answered
next
your
question,
question.
Yeah,
Yes.
you answered it like very clearly. But relevant to this, you want to read one comment.
Oh, we have comments. How do you manage to what? Is this also being recorded?
How do you manage when talking to directors?
What do you want to experience as a sound artist but
Yeah.
didn't get the chance yet? Oh, that's a difficult question because that has not happened so far. Because I tend to experiment with whatever I have and I'm happy with what I have. Arifa can't see anybody.
Can you see me?
I can see you and I'm going to write, I'm missing him. Oh, yeah. Neither can we see you. Okay, we don't have time for comment. Sorry. What were we up to? Yes. Technical issue.
Uh, yeah.
Yeah, sorry, that question.
No problem. We can continue.
What do you want to experiment as a sound artist but didn't get the chance yet? Asif, if I got your name right, I hope. I tend to experiment with whatever I have, my man. So, I mean, you give me potatoes, I'll play with potatoes. You give me aloo, I'll play with aloo. They're both the same thing, but yeah. You got the idea. If it's tomatoes, it's tomatoes. You manage with what you have and have very less expectations. So, whatever you get is bonus. And yeah, that base. So, I mean, even
Uh,
smaller sounds, I mean, it could be a simple documentary film that you're doing, or a half an hour, or a short film, or whatever, but you try to do your best. And somewhere, if it's a good film, you try to bring out the best in it. You don't have to be playing with guns and bikes and cars every time. I mean, everything has its own, but there's also charm in silence, for example, or in just winds. You sit and try to figure out the correct wind for a scene. It could take you a whole day, or it could take you 5 days. But once you have it, then it's like, yeah. So yes, you experiment with everything, my man. That's all I have to say. Arif is
there's
out, his
another
internet is
question.
gone. Yes, Shreya, you have to carry it
Would
on
you
for the
please,
time being, buddy. Yes.
no problem.
Hmm.
Would you please describe how did you record the running or chasing scenes in NH10? How did you plan the recording process? Specific question.
Mm, for NH10 in particular, it's more or less, yeah, I knew that we'd be running around everywhere, but we also had restrictions in terms of, we did have a recce, of course. So we did plan okay, this sequence we'll shoot from here and run from there to there. So you kind of have a semblance of how much of wireless technology you'll need, if you need to have
Yeah.
your antennas higher up so that you catch signal. Because there were
Hmm.
instances where we had them running all along and up there, and I was running behind them with my bag very happily. So I knew I'd have to be with a bag chasing artists. And then again, you take care of miking them and mic them well enough so that they don't get irritated, and they have free body movement also. And there's also going to be fight sequences and all that. So there have been times where I mean, person's going to get thrown and flung around, and what's the closest place? Then you got to be aware of things in life, like when a human being is threatened or is going to get hurt, you tend to crouch up back into embryo position. So the safest place is your heart. So you get your artist a chest strap and you mic them there because that's going to be the safest. Yeah, and they had woolen clothes on. So it's like, so you got to, in every situation, matlab, mic lagega, nahi lagega, boom pe lenge, nahi lenge. So yeah, and you mic them well enough so that even if they run, I mean, you avoid rustle with what we call overcovers from Rycoat. I tend to use them; they really help. And it's really good if your male artists wear banyans, vests, which is something that you could tell them prior. You know, so because even with vests, it gets difficult because vests are very thin cotton. So then you
Yeah.
tend to be careful. You need to be careful of running between the chest exactly down the chest muscle onto the side along the lining if the banyan has a lining so that it doesn't get seen. You're not
Yeah.
here to show yourself. So yeah, you use sense and technique and whatever you have picked on in life, and yeah, managed to get those running sequences. So they could have been might in the waist, or we use leg straps, and they need to be a little tight since the person's got to be running. Or for safety, you could just add a belt. So it depends, yeah, situation to situation. You got to have. That's why you do your prep so that you know what you're getting into and what's going to happen, so that you can plan for it. Basically, I hope I managed to answer the NH10 question.
Yeah, yeah. Perfect. I would just ask a question related to what Jayato asked.
Okay.
How do you manage talking to the
Okay.
director, and also about your other collaborators like producers and equipment vendors or
Hmm.
assistants or the sound team.
Hmm.
So how what do you expect from maybe let's say a producer when they're allotting a budget or giving you the freedom to maybe experiment with
From
maybe
the
new
producer, I expect a
equipment?
lot of money. Plenty,
Do
truckloads
you
of
get it
money.
easily?
No, yeah, you have to make your ungli teda, no? Sorry.
Yeah,
No, basically, you expect sense from your producer. I expect sense.
yeah,
Like when you talk to them about a certain issue, they at least understand what you have to say. And, like even like if you have a car sequence or your director knows it's going to be important. Like on Sacred Games, there were sequences where Sataj is driving like a madman. So पहले से Vikram had told the edit team to please make space for the sound guy behind because he's going to need to lie down in the boot. So things
yeah.
like that. It depends. Already people are thinking or not. So I've been fortunate, lucky that ways to be working with people who are very sensible and aware that ways. So yeah, it does make a difference, definitely.
And about your relationship with your vendors, maybe.
Uh, For my vendors, my usually Girkar Brothers has been the one person. Oh, hello, look who's back.
The internet. Oh my god.
Internet, the internet is
You
back.
finished the coffee, I think. You went for a coffee.
No,
Yeah,
no,
there
no,
was
no,
some
no.
some secret
It's.
break. I'm
I
gonna
think.
I'm gonna try playing that game. Hey, my internet's gone off.
Wow.
Yeah, so sorry.
So
Where
I
were we?
miss.
We were at
Yeah,
Yeah. What
carry
did
on.
you miss? Yes,
No,
we were
actually, I
Vendors.
was. Uh,
vendors. Huh.
I think something going on like a conversation. It,
Yeah,
let's
yeah.
Yeah,
finish
we
it and
were.
then yeah.
Huh. Huh. So Shreya, you were at my relationship with vendors and my team or people who I work with, correct? As in, can you just one repeat, please?
Like, what do you expect from them? Your assistants, associates, and
Oh
your
my God,
vendors.
I again, like I told you, I expect nothing. I've had uh, I've had assistants with ID crisis because I asked them to go off set far away and record ambiences which are very important because eventually we will use them. But
Yeah,
I was like, dude. So then he was like, dude, no, do you need me or not? So I'm like, I need you, but I don't know what an assistant does, man. When I assisted, I tend to do everything. I'll do whatever you want me to do, from making a chai to servicing your cables to whatever. It doesn't make a difference to me. So I don't know what the definition of an assistant is, and what I expect from my team is basically everybody does everything. I can't be sitting in one place and saying, acha, this is not my job, I won't do this. And they, out of the goodness of their hearts, they will never let me touch a cable or whatever, because they're like, no, you're touching the mixer, you better keep your fingers clean, or you
yeah,
might need to go touch a artist's lab or whatever. So everybody finds their own space. I prefer things that way rather than have that preset hierarchy. So basically,
hierarchy.
you can take the example of the earth itself. Why it is so perfectly packed. So it's like if I take a bunch of if I take a little sand in my hand and gradually let it be, it will pack
Mm,
better. Than I take every piece and sharpen it, and that's gonna take me God knows how long. I'd rather find a good bunch of people and let them be, so that gradually वो अपने आप shuffle होके it'll nicely tighten up, and that will end up making a better mountain than, you know, piecing it. So even from my team, it's not like, yeah, and a team's never constant. Although I do have a few people I keep going back to. Mr. Satya Prakash Maurya is my default right hand man,
Mm.
partner in crime, at least shoot wise. And for posts, like I mentioned, Mr. Neeraj Gera is my bouncing board for everything in the universe. So these two people are usually the first people who get called. Mr. Gera gets a call first. Satya is my boom man. So depending on if it's a shoot or not, or if I need him to handle another shoot since I'm busy somewhere else, so then he takes care of stuff, and then I discuss with him, okay, what is the situation, how many mics we need, whom should we get it from. The usual vendors is Girkar Brothers, where Satya works. So if they have what is required, or if we need to source it out from somewhere else or whatever, that then gets planned. So yeah, and then if we need an assistant, or if we can afford one or not, or if we need a second boom, or we can do with a junior guy. So how we'll work out XYZ project is a project to project basis, basically.
Shreya, I would love to read a couple of comments for Vinit.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, Someone asking like, they're actually a writer, so they're asking like if they want to write a script, reminding the sound design in their mind. So how can they put that on their writing? Any suggestion from you in quick?
My one suggestion would be possibly spend a day with your eyes blindfolded,
Mm,
and yeah, once you start listening to things automatically, because see, again, I have a number of theories in life. One of them is that the
mm,
human is a machine.
mm.
Okay, it's basically our experiences and whatever we have perceived till now, which is what will come out. There is nothing
Yeah.
different unless it is cosmic intervention, which is very rare cases. Which is
Hmm.
also, again, it will flow out through a guitar in the form of a tune, and I will be a prodigy, for example. Or it may happen on a flute or whatever other instrument. But usually, our stories are mostly what we have seen or heard, or in whatever order, heard or seen. For me, since I've been, I mean, I'm more of a listener, so my ears are my eyes.
Mm.
So a writer would need to consciously, like I gave you the vendor example. This is not a conscious thing. I just found it, and that was an interesting thing. Because when I am happy, that vendor is in surtal and everything is grooving right, but when I am having a bad day, that vendor will irritate the life out of me. So anything could be a cue for something else. So being aware and listening is basically what will automatically bring it into the writing then. Arifer is stuck again. Bad
We have
internet.
another comment.
Yeah.
Another one, please. In Pataal Lok, I really like the sound of hammer smashing skulls. Felt very natural. Of course, the whole series was amazingly sound designed. As you worked as a recordist and sound designer in the whole series, how did you come up with these sound spaces of the whole story? Why have you decided to design the sound like this?
My God.
Maybe,
This is
maybe the
this is another
philosophy of sound for this series.
this is another episode. uh well, it evolved, and with Patalok in particular, I think the idea, I let it evolve more. As in, we have always, I got this from Avinash basically on shoot also. So you let things be first, let stuff happen, and then do your two bits to it. So if it's I mean, whatever scene, accident scene, or this scene or that scene or whatever, if there is something in your mind, first wait, give all those humans a chance to perform and do their thing. No, then you can add your two bits ke ye acha tha, ye bura tha. So to first of all let it be, let it happen, then we'll bring our two bits. So about the hammer smashing skull sound, that's like a tongue twister. Hammer smashing skull. See, now obviously, now if I take that particular one an example, first of
Hmm.
all, thank you very much. It did take a lot, and now after Raman Raghav also, I've kind of, uh, I think I've kind of covered the skull smashings very well. So, anyways, even that one was another different. I actually wanted to get a goat head into the studio, and my director was like, "Shut up, you mad or what?" So, so, anyways, that
For the
didn't
Foley.
happen, but we managed. Yeah. If I had a choice, I would have, because it's a totally different thing. Yeah, as in, I'm salivating right now. मुंह में पानी आ रहा है. Not in a gory way, but as a sound guy, to actually, I'm remembering it,
Yeah.
and it's like, so yeah, skull smashing was good fun. When you're shooting, obviously nobody's skull is being smashed, but also you may be hammering a cushion. Like when this guy is getting beaten up in the jail, also that lathi on his leg. When you're shooting, there's obviously a cushion there. You're not going to actually hit him, right?
Yeah.
And then for effect, later you will add a swish and you will add the contact, and then you will, in your mix, you will decide ki bhai, what needs to be louder and what sort of a sound you're looking at. So that particular sound, essentially, I took it as, see, it's more, when it's flowing, it's more of an experience. So that hammer smashing was more of your Tyagi's POV, for example.
Yeah.
Because, and it's so, he's so in Zen, that you can hear. There's also the skull crack, there's also the blood squish, there's also the splatter, and there's also him applying the force with his shirt on, but that you can't hear, and there's also him breathing, and there's also some crazy background music happening. So and you want to keep it real, so it should actually sound like, that bone crack is very important. So gradually we get everything together, and then depending on how we want to, how we want it to evolve is what, that's what the mix, half of the mix game is now. So that's how we ended up doing that thing. And the space, again, for the whole series, I think the script itself automatically commanded and like took you right into this space. Like it opens up with you in, you looking at a bunch of cops in a gypsy in Delhi. So that sequence, gradually, obviously the gypsy is important, and apart from that, what's happening, it's Delhi, it's rural Delhi, so there's like kidas going around, and there's some houses playing something, and there's something else happening somewhere else, and some bullet passing by. So it automatically, again, that same thing, you let it be and let it happen, and things gradually come out. So I remember having spent a decent amount of time on those initial crickets, almost like a good, I think, 4, 5, 6 hours or something, because also the rate at which the crickets are passing better match the speed of the car. You can't have a cricket flying by like Sonic the Hedgehog when the car is moving at 20. It'll have to go out, chur, 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 chur. It'll take that much time. Unless you're zipping by at 100, then it'll go chur, 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 chur. So those sort of, you gotta take care of such things, so that you don't let go of whoever is listening to that conversation about Patal Lok and the Kidas and who all, what type of people, and so that's how I took it basically. And then once it started off and it had its own space to be defined, and then from there we go into the Basti, and the Basti is a Basti in India, in Delhi again. So then we thought of the type of people there, and you'll find there's a distant speaker also playing where there's some Bhojpuri rubbish happening. Somebody's doing a birha, which is, again, it's not really clear or intelligible, but that whole feeling of, as they are walking in, he's still talking, you can hear the footsteps also, but you start hearing that distant speaker first. As you gradually approach, you start hearing some old Bollywood playing, there's drains happening, there's fights happening. So that it was a very enjoyable process, actually. That also happened layer by layer. So again, first one layer comes in, then you sit for a day or two over it, and then we're like, Acha, what else can be done better? You can define the kind of population there with the kind of films they are watching, you know or the fights there, and so it more or less had been written pretty much. So you just have to follow, and then think of it what perspective you eventually want, and how you want your audience to feel, is basically you want them to feel like your protagonist or your
Yeah.
current character, who according to whom you have framed also, you know. So yeah, just following that feeling, yeah, and the rest of it just happened, my friend.
Yeah. So Vinith, I'll ask a question now relating to
Yes.
this one because you're mentioning it again and again that take your
Hmm.
time, give it some time and all that.
Yeah,
But in
time
sound
is.
post production,
Uh-huh.
we all know that how crazy deadlines are given and how crazy the whole atmosphere of post production. And last year we have had some very tragic deaths of sound professionals at very young age, as you know. So, what is it like to be working with so many deadlines? Also, so many back and forth from maybe, especially in case of feature films, when the release dates are already set, right? So you do the sound again, and then goes for grade, or maybe come back for edit.
Yeah, I don't
So,
like stress, and I don't like the way this particular third world scene is run, as far as
yeah,
giving time to sound professionals go, because you take an average feature film anywhere
mm,
outside,
yeah,
they usually ask for at least 6 months for post,
yeah.
and hi,
Sorry.
welcome back to the
Thank you.
show. We are on air with Shreya and Arifa.
Coffee with
Carry
Arif.
on. Carry
Yeah.
on. I can depend on
uh,
Shreya. Yeah, yeah.
yeah, we had a good chat. Yes. So yes, I was at where, Shreya? Uh,
The timelines and deadlines.
yeah. So I and it doesn't make sense. Yeah. So actually, all your experience comes through when you're then faced with, chalo, 20 days, we got to get this done. So then in those 20 days, you have to know how to optimize what is the important, like, then you use your brain and don't strain yourself out. Okay, boss, this is a chase sequence, there's going to be a lot of BGM on this one, but then your experience comes in with the number of films you keep doing and the number of work, the amount of work one has done. One knows ke is point pe BGM aayega ya nahi aayega. So should I focus on the softer sounds there, or should I get on with the louder sounds, because I don't have time, and the main flow of the film will, it's going to be a dialogue BGM correlation. All my SFX are going to get squashed down, so there's no point stressing about something and killing yourself over it. I don't think anything is worth killing yourself over, like not even like sound. I mean, why? I mean, so yeah, even on set, when people get too enthusiastic or over ambitious, you need to calm them down, saying, dude, एक shot पे जान मत दे, आराम से कर ले, कोई tension नहीं है. In spite of even the fact, I mean, when I've done it in my younger days, like gotten off the terrace onto the top ledge, because you're shooting your final student film and your actor is on the second top ledge, and
Yeah.
so one has done one's fair share of stunts, but after a point of time, okay, you want to do more work. No, it's not like it's your last this thing. So you take care of it then, yeah, obviously.
But
Yes.
is the
Huh.
time limit any different for series and features? The
Similar.
work pressure, stress.
I was fortunate where my showrunners were with me, and we did have a little bit of pressure, but it wasn't, yeah, life threatening. And you have to live with it, yeah. Like, I mean, it happens, and more than often, one is at the receiving end. It's not like, because worst comes to worst, what will happen is I'll tell them, dude, I can't do this in a month and a half. Thank you very much, and they will go and find someone else to do it. It's not like I'm bothered that the work will go from my hand, which is why I haven't done a lot of design after Raman Raghav, and between Raman Raghav and Pataal Lok, it's been 2-3 years,
Hmm.
because it's not a very enjoyable scene. Yeah, I am dreaming of the West, and where you get 6 months, not just the West, even Europe, you get 6 months to design a
Yeah.
film. It takes that much time to absorb things and to give back, for that energy exchange between you and the soundtrack, and for it to get complete and to become one with the film. And for all of that to say something which some other human will watch, I will not want them to watch it once or twice. So I
Yeah.
mean, I don't. I mean, if you watch a Patal Lok a second time, something else might strike you. this has come to me from lovely songs. Like there's some lovely song that you like. Every time you hear it on any speaker, you'll hear something new, and you'll love it even more. So those details, these details is where the fun is. So I like to work that way, and people don't understand. It takes time to do stuff. No, I can't fill in details when you don't give me the time for it. Very simple. So yeah, it does take time. And on Patal Lok, we got the edit by August, and we delivered by Jan. So we had a decent 4-5 months on it to brood and think.
Great.
Uh,
All the episodes, everything.
Not all. They staggered. We came in, I mean, two at a time or whatever, and we worked one at a time, two at a time, every 10-15 days. That's how we had planned it basically. But yeah, I did get lesser time on it, typically. So let's not get into that.
we, we
But
get
yeah,
your point.
I would have preferred, like, for me, I'd prefer, like, this was ideal Patalok because you do it. Sorry, 1 second. Yeah, sorry.
Bless you.
You do the show and you get a month or two to forget about it, to not live with it every day, to regain
Yeah.
some objectivity, go back, revisit it, and then obviously you'll feel like, okay, this was right, this was wrong, I could have done this different, or I still can now that I have the time to. Why not? So that would be ideal, but that never really happens because once it's out of the studio, it's gone, and you have to forget about it forever. So yeah, yeah, it's nice if you have the time, but more than often not. And that's where all those years of struggle and experience comes in. Ki, "Achha, chalo, let me now decide what this particular project needs, how much time I have for it, where I need to focus and where not." So that's how, basically.
You can have some water
Okay.
now.
Yeah, I will. Yes.
Shreya, I think we can invite Shajib now, and then I
Yeah.
have some questions, and definitely I'm quite sure you have some questions also. So we can continue together with Shajib.
Yeah. No
And
problem.
I'm game.
because of the bad internet, I couldn't fulfill the wish of our audience because they are asking so many questions privately and on the chat. So maybe um, at end of the show, I will try to read some. Yeah, Shajib is here. Thank you, Shajib bhai,
Yeah.
for
Quickly
joining
do
us.
it at the end.
I was listening to you guys for this
Yeah,
long,
yeah,
and I can relate to you guys so much. I can relate to Vinit so much. Means like everything is it's like dead truth, man. Like
Yeah, yeah. As it is,
So
as
for
it
the
actually
audience,
is.
yeah, yeah. For the audience, a little introduction. Shajib bhai is working here. He's a visionary sound designer, sound on location sound recordist, and musicians. So I just wanted to kind of do the matchmaking thing, like what is happening in Bangladesh, and listening the experience from Shajib and also the reaction from Vinit. And at the end, if we can have something inspirational or like practical from Vinit, so that we can also replicate that here in Bangladesh, that will be great. So I think Shajib bhai, if you can say the workflow and the practice in Bangladesh and what you are thinking and what you thought earlier, I mean, when you came to Bangladesh after the training, and what is the reality? Yeah, I know it's bitter, but speak up. And then Shreya is here, so if you want to ask anything, you can add. Yeah, Shajib bhai.
first of all, whatever Vinit said, we have to implement each and everything. There is nothing implemented. So we have to go through a quite a long journey for this. But few things we are like pretty much common, like situation with directors and like talking about the scenes, that those are the things, like thinking design first. So those are the things I want to hear from him, how to approach, like how they are approaching. And in our case, I think Arif Bhai can say much more how do we approach. But like sometimes like over here, what happens with us, we do a shoot like tomorrow, like today, आज रात को call आया तो कल सुबह चलो ऐसे.
Huh.
So in that case, you cannot like do all those things like ask for
Yeah,
a director.
yeah, yeah.
That's why like he said already, like why documentary helps. documentary prepares
Mm.
you for the like immediate things, like even the raw sounds and like how my mic sounds with those raw sounds and all those. In my film, all those things I can control it pretty much. So the judgment comes from the documentary about the sound and all the mic and instruments he said, those things. But like for film, the director has to be like concerned about what he wants. If he can convey those messages like these are the things he wants. We are the guys who can implement it. Like, okay, this is the vision, this is what he wants, and like we can get the sounds out of it. Now I'm listening to it from Vinit from more.
Oh,
Yeah.
again,
So
please. Sorry, sorry.
we can continue from Shreya. Like Shreya, you have some list of questions that already because I missed part of the conversation. So yeah, it's your call. And if you don't have anything, I want to ask something also. Yeah.
Okay.
Maybe
Yeah.
I can start. Like in Bangladesh, most of the young filmmakers,
I always have
the
questions. Come on.
they always ask like
I want to ask
what is the
about.
I think there is some
Some
lagging
lag or
happened.
something. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So raise your hand. Shreya, you want to ask? I'm
You go ahead. You started already.
okay. Okay. So the question actually most of the time I faced from the filmmakers, like the
Now he's stuck. You want to, if you want to do this without, oh, well, we can't do it without video. It's live, right? Because I think that's most of the load.
Yeah, I think even disconnect
Sajid,
and get
if
back.
your connection is good, I think you and Vineet can talk. Uh, Arif is
Yeah,
having a
sure.
bad connection today.
Ah,
Let's
Sajid,
talk
you were
about the let's talk about the pre-script involvement, man.
about the. I'm sorry.
About the pre-script
Pre-script
involvement.
involvement.
Pre-script involvement.
Yeah.
Uh it's ideal, like I said, but it doesn't happen most of the times because at least on a formal, like on a bigger production where stuff is green flagged based on, you'll have at least a bound script in place. So by then, for you to put in your two bits, I mean, if those two bits are valuable and people take your suggestion, then you are lucky. If not, then
Yeah.
you have to also accept it and not feel bad. Yeah, okay, what is this? And you can't like be grumpy and go off home unless you have some other jobs waiting where they will take your suggestion. So again, that's situation to situation, okay, where it makes sense to suggest what. That's more of that sort of a scene.
Okay. One more question is like about the equipments. You need to like set up your equipments and how many labs, how many things you needed. Those are like pretty much decided before pre-scripting, I think, like before scripting time. Like like when do you
Uh,
decide how or what mics you need?
Average, you do have an average kit depending on the script, how many artists and what is happening, and if they're going to be in a car, for example, two of them for 20 days, and after that they'll reach somewhere where there'll be some more artists. So if that is being shot in Delhi and you can get the equipment from Delhi, or if your guy can come in from Bombay with the equipment again, so that also it keeps changing. But it's best you preempt it and okay, by so many days you have second unit. So once the script is in place, that's when you can decide. And unless there's a change, like chalo, we are shooting a 10-day thing or a 2-day thing, one day night you will realize that a second day there's been some problem. So you need to change something, or you need to add more gear, or now they are going to be running from a basti to a building, and then on the spider cam they're going to run up the building onto the terrace. So if it's going to be that long, then the previous night ki boss, tomorrow we got to go bag, we can't go cart again. So
Yeah.
that again on the feet, although prior you do have a semblance of what is happening and what you're dealing with as a script and as a film or a documentary. So then again, small tweaks can always happen last minute, but best if you run through the whole script and you figure out, okay, by these many days I'm going to be dealing with so many artists, these many days so many artists. these many booms, this location, interior, exterior, basti hai, so you'll need small booms. If you're working in a nice palatial big glass building, then you can't have the boom around because there'll be reflections. And again, then you got to talk to your director and your camera team on how they're planning to lens it. If they're gonna go wide and have the boom in frame, or you can't boom and you'll need to lab up everybody. So that again is situation to situation. Yeah.
Yep, yep. Okay, Arif bhai is back.
Hey, you got a
I
haircut.
just no, I just changed my location. Oh my God,
Okay, you
it's
closer to the
I'm,
Wi-Fi.
so I'm close to
And
the router now.
one more,
Let's
one
see.
more.
Yeah, Sujib.
Yeah, yeah. So the equipments and the vendor thing, man, like you can order it anytime and they give it to you the next day. Is it pretty much that
You've
easy?
got. I like these guys. I have been renting from Girkar Brothers forever. So for me, yeah, it's like I can call now and they will deliver. You got to have that sort
And
of a rapport with the guy.
yeah. So now the recorder choices, man, like the sound device of Dexcom.
I'm sorry, recorder preference.
Yeah, yeah.
I'll go with sound devices. Yes, always
So
have.
okay. You get the 788 and all those things like on your call, like you call it the previous day and you get it the next day.
Yes, initially, even for my docus, thanks to Neeraj, I have always used either the 744, which is sound devices. So the 7
Yeah, yeah,
series preamps or the 722. So those preamps I have known for a long time now, at least like,
yeah.
I don't know, 2006, 5, 6. So whatever, like 10, 15 years, whatever. Or 10 years. Yeah, 10 years.
Yeah, yeah. That's the difficulties for us, man. Like we are still on like mixed 3 6 level, and neither like Zoom F8 level, and there is like also Zoom 8 6 level.
Yeah, so then that's when you start valuing it. So even for a docu, we have on lower budgets, but it depends. Like we were discussing earlier, your content could go to even a theater. So what I usually
Yeah,
tell my poor low budget producers is that listen, we will not use bad gear because we will try to do our best, and it makes a difference.
yeah, 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 for
So
sure, man. Like
I'd cut my money, but don't cut equipment money. That's always been the policy. Otherwise,
Yeah.
the fun of working goes out. When you're listening to sorry but bad sound.
yeah,
You're listening to bad sound. You're listening to bad sound. It's not fun anymore. So yeah, you got to be able to convince people that bhai, even if it is no budget, then and gradually now I have finally NH10 onwards. I use a 788. It had always been along till for a good 2 3 years, and then around Super 30s when I bought a 688.
okay.
So in fact, I wanted to buy a 788, but I ended up buying the 688. And my
These
luck,
are direct.
yes, and for us third world fellows to buy it, it's like almost like a kidney or a liver has gone.
Yeah, yeah,
And
actually.
and my beautiful luck, the next year they released the Scorpio. So
Oh, fine.
I have not no regrets particularly because well that recorder has been through me. I mean with me through Super 30 and Tryst with Destiny and Pataal Lok. So kind of emotional value now. So I don't want to give it off anyways. But let's see. You never know. You have to detach from emotion when money comes in. No? So yeah.
Yeah.
So right now I have the 688. It is only the mics that I usually need. So they manage to, yeah, the equipment guys tend to take care of me on demand.
Fine, fine. Then we can go for the booms right now. MKH 50 60 or 416.
Oh, I would not touch a 416 unless you have a gun to my head as of today.
Oh,
I
too
mean,
much
I
payload.
mean, use them in it's good. It also has its beauty. It's not a, I mean, it's a fantastic mic. And
Yeah, it's a
on
hot
docu situations, yeah, right now, if you tell me there's a documentary and you don't know where the camera will turn and you don't know what you will see, and you have only 500 rupees, then I will tell you take a 416. You know,
Yeah, yeah.
because if you take a 50 and go, and that mic is so sharp that you'll need a very good hand to handle it, and you need to have a controlled situation. Yeah,
You
you
need to
need a,
catch the voice.
yes.
Margin of
So
error is very low.
Yes. So then don't have that sort of error ka margin. So then you need to be wider, because you're interviewing somebody and anybody might speak in that crowd, so you need to be able to capture all of them. So you'll take something with a wider pattern. Very simply, it's not a controlled film set where you're in a room and you have a scene happening between two people, so it's only going to be just them, and you're going to have space for your boom in the room, so there's no problem. Then you take a 50 and go, and you pay a good boom guy some decent money so that you get the worth of that 50. So yeah, situation to situation, man.
I bet we don't have it right now.
How
हो जाएगा,
हो
we'll do it,
जाएगा.
yeah.
We'll
हो
do
गए,
it.
हो गए.
Yeah.
Okay, then similar question goes for the labs, man. Like,
Mm-hmm.
when to listen to the labs you use for your productions, so we can get some knowledge about it. Like,
With the labs, my
Senator or Audio Limited or anything.
yeah, dreams are audio limited, but yeah, ideally, I've heard. matlab I'm also quite closely in touch with Vinod Subramaniam, who's the
Yeah,
audio
yeah,
limited.
yeah,
I'm sure you know Vinod. Yeah. So
I know you.
yeah, I did hear the new audio limiteds at his place, and boy, they sound like cable booms, man. It's not, matlab it's magical. But
And
through
yeah,
the years, I have used, like, from the G3s in the beginning. Then again, because of touch with Kira, and even on those docus, I remember we used to go with Lectros. So
yeah.
Lectrosonic wireless systems and COS 11 was the standard
Yeah.
until I discovered the DPAs about 3-4 years ago.
4060 is going on.
Oh
Yeah.
my God, they have saved quite a few films. Not I have not done anything. It's just a beautiful gear. I mean, that's what I would like to give credit to, because when an actor not doesn't project, when you have only that much energy, then you need that good electronics so that you can push things up and still have it heard. So that's why even on Bebak I have used DPS. So for me, then
No.
it became the standard, because that film you can take as an example. We shot it where, and it is it's playing back anywhere. So that this could be an example of, and we were talking about how there's this interview scene where it's raining like cats and dogs, and we managed to get through that scene without a drop of rain being heard. So it's also some genius gear, right? The DPAs and the recorder and electrosonic SMQV transmitter receivers, 200 series receivers, and the DPS. So yeah, I mean, right now, and that ends up costing a little bit of money, obviously, but it's a pinch more than normal. But I'd rather
Yeah.
feel the pinch because it is worth it at the end of it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty much a dream setup because we are still going with the G3s.
Oh yeah, yeah. But all respect for the G3s, because parallelly, see, Sajib, I believe, where if content matters, like
Yeah,
if there's
yeah.
a riot happening outside, I could have a crappy recording on my phone, but it will sell to news channels. If I shoot a plane
Yeah.
flying into a building, it will sell. Doesn't matter what device it gets shot on. Like I
Yeah.
had this. I mean, I wish we could do something live, because I have certain recordings of a bathroom in the Taj Gateway in Ahmedabad.
Okay.
Uh, and if you hear them, you will not say that it's like
Which record is
outwardly.
it? Wow.
This was recorded. I'll send you a clip. In fact, I'll send it to Arifar. You take a listen. I mean, I play guessing games with people, saying, "Guess what this is," and nobody in the world would guess what it is, because it sounds so different. Like, it sounds like a machine gun. I was playing with the shower, and it's making a sort of sound. Okay, so, and I also played with it. I avoided the dribble from the tap, and the tap, and what was happening was it's old plumbing, so in the walls the old plumbing was resonating, so it
Hmm.
sounded like really outwardly. And I had nothing then, because IPL we had live cameras and everything, so we stayed in nice hotels, but this hotel the whole wall was resonating, and it had it almost like a ship horn. So yeah, and then I played with that piece and did some designing ke naam pe kuch kiya, but that was a small MP3 voice recorder type thing. So
Right.
it does not matter. Like, yeah, if I had the best of gear, that would have been fantastic recordings. But at that point of time, I had nothing.
Yeah.
So
Yep.
yeah,
Mm.
gear and all
So the
matters when
content.
you can. Yeah, but content, as usual, content is king, man.
Shreya, see when
What
two technical person talks, then it's a magic. Go ahead, Sharif bhai, go ahead.
we can
It's
talk the
fun.
whole night, man. I think pretty much. Yeah, like
Yeah,
we have
yeah,
so
this
many.
can go on forever.
So
This is
now
not
one.
technical. This is like love. This is love for art.
Yeah, this is love. This is love. Yeah,
Yeah, कि
carry
भाई
the love,
ये
love
भी
One more.
session.
ये भी correct है, वो भी correct है. So yeah.
Techno love.
So relation between the costume department and the sound designers, like the sound recording, like the
Wow.
Oh,
costume.
all of it,
Yeah.
I want
all
to
of
ask
it.
you about that, like how to put the labs and like how do you manage the people and how do you manage the stars? Because like you have actually like quite big stars. We also have stars, but like stars are like definitely differently. So
Kismat. Good luck, and the good karma of my parents is what I would like to blame it on. But yeah, then I mean, yeah, star or no star, I to me it doesn't make a difference. I look at the person as a human, which is somewhere I think even it helps because even they more than often they get treated as demigods, so they prefer a person treating them like a human. You know. So for example, yeah, once a script comes through before I go to shoot, I usually send one love mail to the whole team, goes to my EPs basically, and that involves liaisoning with various departments from lighting to Jenny to costume to production design to camera team to DIT team to post team. I prefer running a workflow test depending on if they have their designer in place or not. Just run a whole tech test because now with the whole with your Netflix and Amazon coming in on the OTT platform thing and all of that, they've gotten very. I mean, they have a lot of tech, which earlier we never followed in India. Like I remember back in the day, editing and re-editing cuts, and I was always like, "There's time code. Why are we doing this?" You know.
exactly.
And that is now being enforced because we have to cater because it is being asked for, and yeah, so it's finally being used now when I have been giving time coded footage right from NH10, but it finally gets used when you start a Sacred Games, for example, because they need live, they need dailies for double checks and all that,
Mm.
right? So there's no time to actually sit and sync stuff. So time code, for example. So there are various all departments have. So camera team needs to have things in place. Their cables need to be there for limos and this and that and everything, and audio feed because you need to give audio feed also. So yeah, well, liaisoning with the costume team, depending on what sort of costumes there are. If it's conventional, like Ritik Roshan had some normal regular clothes on Super 30, so it's not a lot of an issue. Unless you come for a scene where he's going to be crying in the rain and he's going to be getting completely wet. So you may be able to mic him or may not, depending on your relationship with your vendor. Again, and then
Yeah.
the safety that you will use for the labs or the booms or whatever. Like right now with respect to rain, I think we have a decent amount of
Yeah.
what we could call experience and some decent mics also. Like the DPAs, you can use them upside down and avoid water dripping completely, so they are kind of waterproof. In fact, their maintenance involves dipping them in water, and
Yeah.
yeah, distilled water, but not like salty water. But yeah, so and yeah, that being said, what scene you're getting into again, and वो कैसा होने वाला है, artist क्या कपड़ा पहनेगा, unless it's going to be bare bodied or it's going to be some exotic costume or something very thick or woolen clothes, then you can kind of on the woolen clothes I mean, yeah, saying hello to all departments is important, and then you just tell the costume team if you can possibly make a cut in the coat so you can come up through to the side, and you mic him there instead of going through the coat if it's a somebody's worn a sherwani or something. So I'd rather rip a hole in the pocket itself and just get the mic out here. that gives you crystal clear audio
Clear voice.
recordings. Yeah. And then so then depending on costume to costume, if somebody's in a monkey outfit, or I don't know, it could be, I don't remember, I mean, off my the top of my head, nothing's majorly coming to mind. But yeah, you preempt कि भाई, if this is a period film, people are going to be wearing dhotis and kurtas, and kurta का कैसा material होगा. So I tend to ask them also for photographs of जितना, I mean, how many ever artists have how many ever costumes finalized. So it's nicer for us if we have photographs, so we can also select the correct kind of tapes so they don't keep falling and your artists don't get irritated. Or you say, okay, this scene there's going to be rain, so you may choose to also put a safety pin along with the usual taping that you do. So yeah, pretty much by the scene, and you need to have the support of
Costume department.
everybody. Yeah, all
Yeah.
departments, even the chai
All
wala dada.
departments.
Yeah, because then, yeah, because
Yeah,
when
yeah.
you say silence, you're shooting in a house and the chai setup is niche, you know, and you say silence and everybody is quiet, and they are used to having one walkie there on full volume because they need to hear kisko coffee chahiye, kisko chai, kisko juice, and they don't. I mean, if they don't hear that, they won't be able to do their jobs. So when you're yelling silence, you need that chai dada to say, okay, he said silence, let me turn down walkie, let me turn down my volume and not bang bloody ginger, so that
Yeah,
it
comes
doesn't
later.
disturb the track. So then when you know after you've said silence, then you have to go on to channel 5, which is the channel for spot dadas, and you have to tell them ki chai wale dada, spot dada, please don't bang ginger when we say silence. So I mean, there could be a variety of situations. So that's why you need to be able to. I mean, you need to liaison with everyone, not just any one particular. Yeah, you can't like not. And yeah, I don't mind doing it. In fact, it's fun, and I mean, you also need good chai, so you need to tell him hello anyways. So then once you build that rapport, then he'll automatically send you, I sound wale sir ne manga hai, so acha chai bhejo. So that also happens.
So Arif bhai, I have a lot of questions. So if you want anything, just go
Yeah,
ahead.
but
Let's
I
stop.
think our time already like at the end.
Actually, we have gone overtime.
Yes,
Uh,
then we can do a
so
little bit more, huh?
Yeah, I don't mind.
Five,
so
ten
yeah,
Or
yeah,
minutes.
definitely.
or if you want an extended thing, if you want to plan this for another day, as in part 2 or whatever, I don't know, because it
Yeah,
doesn't
like
look
we
like we
can.
are near the end ever.
But
So,
definitely,
so
Shajib bhai, if you want to ask, like really,
yeah,
like
one more
you
question.
can't sleep without the answer. So go ahead.
Sleeping pills, man.
Go ahead, go ahead.
अच्छा हो गया पोस्ट प्रोडक्शन के बारे में कुछ बात ही नहीं हुआ इसलिए बोल रहा था कि like we need to
हाँ,
have
मैं
some
वही तो
like
कह रहा हूँ.
small things, just one thing, like take an example, like suppose I'm somewhere where the
Hmm.
scene is going on and there is a AC going on, and the joke is telling me he will show the AC on the screen, on the monitor, the AC will be there. And once the AC switched on, so I told him like keep the AC off for better sound. He is telling me you use isotope. So he knows isotope, RX. I'm talking about. So he knows
Yeah,
a little bit
yeah.
about. So he's telling me like you can do it later on. So how do you answer it, like Vinit? Please?
Depending again, see, like I've had people tell me this also. हाँ, कि तू noise reduction करेगा ना? So I'm like,
Ah,
yeah, I will do noise reduction, but why should that 80 hertz of the generator define the BGM of your scene? Why should you
exactly.
be stuck to, है ना? Why should you keep yourself stuck to an E note or a D note? Sorry, E is 110. I think D है 80.
Ah.
So basically, why should you restrict your scene BGM to a सफेद दो?
Noise bleeding and all those things. Yeah.
Yeah, I'd rather have the generator far away and have it quiet. So there is, I mean, and again, there are situations like you got to choose your battles. You can't keep fighting with a gun all the time.
Yeah.
So you got to choose what fight you want to fight. Correct. So which fight you want to fight and which fight not. Also, the very simple explanation of the fact that the human voice is so dynamic in frequencies that you can do isotope, you can chop, but it does make a difference, and I'm giving you a guarantee on that. Like
Yeah, yeah.
I've taken out crows from tracks. I've used, matlab, isotope is magical. Like on
Magical. Yeah.
Patal Lok itself, it's like
You can't
sorcery. It's not now, it's getting into the sorcery mode. It's not like, it's total jadugari. What you can do with plugins now, oh my god, it's crazy. So yeah, in fact, on Patal Lok itself, I'd like to, since we are on post and magical, there's this new thing called Bird. Okay, by Boom Library.
Okay, okay.
Sorry, Sound Ideas.
Um,
So what it does is it'll take out your bird from your track and it'll give it to you on another track. Because now with artificial intelligence and machine learning, they have fed it the entire bank of birds, which they had. So now, but it doesn't work very well with the crow. Minus the crow, most birds, like we had a final scene just as the whole resolution is happening in episode 9 and everything's being explained in the jungle, where Hathiram is like, this guy is getting out of there finally. Just
Yeah.
as your main villain is going to talk, there's like, it's 4 o'clock in the morning. For me, night shoots end at 4 a.m. because that's when the birds get up. And then obviously sound guy is saying birds there, but what can you do? You have no light till 6, no? So why will they waste those 2 hours? So ideally, if you ask me, a night shoot should pack up at 4 if you're in the exteriors, because you can't stop nature from getting up, and no matter what, 4 o'clock you will have birds. Full stop. There is nothing that you and me can do about it. You know. So yeah, now that we also have debird, I tell them, see, listen, take another take if you want, just for safety. But if you don't have the time and you're fighting against time, your call. Push comes to shove, post में देख लेंगे, we'll dub it. that's the be all and end all. Yeah, but noise reduction and everything is always possible. और
yeah,
वरना post में देख लेगा. Yeah, you do your best, man. Simple, basically. And जो है
yeah.
वो क्या ही कर सकता है. All we can do is plan. That's what we were discussing. We can only plan. जो होगा वो one may or may not be able to control. So yeah,
Yeah.
Exactly.
you mustn't
I
kill
really
yourself
want.
over it.
I really want to read some comments.
Mhm.
Otherwise, they will be really unhappy.
Oh.
Yeah, someone called Sufi. His name is Sufi. He's really like fascinated about sound. Did you read anything from him, Shreya? If not, then I will read.
Yeah, we have read, I think, all of these Pataal Lok questions.
Oh, okay, okay.
Oh,
So,
okay.
Mohammed Zahid
so it's
Hassan,
the
right?
yeah.
Okay.
Okay, then it's perfect. Yeah, he's listening, by the way.
I think last
Which one?
comment we missed. Thank you for mouth-watering detail on skull smashing. Last question, please. Stupid question. How do you match location sound with ADR? Do you use the same mic? What are the important things that a beginner should consider while mixing location sound with ADR?
Oh, this is trade secrets. Yeah, obviously, the thing is now, it's better you use similar gear, at least, if not the same. Because, like on this other film, I remember I did called America. I did the dialogue edit for it, and I also did some dubbings, the ADR supervision. Basic trick of the trade is you have to get your actor to mentally go into that same space in terms of surtal to aa gaya, but projection bhi kitna tha, kitna nahi. And it's basically ear training. Yeah. So the more you hear stuff, then you get to know कि अच्छा इसमें थोड़ा गुस्सा चाहिए या थोड़ा प्यार ज्यादा हो गया या थोड़ा थोड़ा सा subtle कर दो. And then again you need to know how to say it to the person so they don't get offended. You know. So like people will be like, yeah, why do you want another one if you got it? No. So you may run into some old timers who will tell you, no, I won't give you wild take. Why did you okay the take? Simple as that. So I went that on an ad as well, and I was like, okay, don't give me the wild take. It doesn't make a difference. I'm sure of what I've done. This was just for safety. So then there was this ad I did. By end of it, Sir was like, no, I won't give wild take. So I'm like, okay, sir, I've done my job anyways. So yeah. That being said, this started where? Sorry, I have
No, you
digressed.
have answered the first one. The second one is what are the important things that a beginner should consider while mixing location sound with ADR?
Okay. Yeah. While mixing location and
With the
dubs
ADR, yeah, dubs.
with ADR, nothing. It should sound the same, man. It's like match the surtal and your projection. I don't know how to explain that in words. We'll have to sit in playback or have to experience a dubbing session. It's like we'll have to experience a dubbing session. I said that, right? And we'll have to experience a dubbing session. I said that 3 times, almost the same. And we'll have to experience a dubbing session. That's the 4th time. So it's just by, I mean, you do it a few times and you get it. We'll have to experience a dubbing session, you know. So I kind of said it similarly all the 5 times. And yeah, I mean, and abhi to itna ho gaya hai कि I have arguments with my
Wild
wife at home. Sorry,
wild tracks.
wild tracks. No, yeah, the wild tracks, and that was parallel story. But I have arguments with my wife at home on how you said something, and she'll argue with me, and I'll be like, dude, somebody should have pressed record. I am very sure I didn't say something in such a tone. I said it like this, and no, you said this like that. So I usually have the upper hand, and I'm the one listening more. And she kind of gives in, but like there are times you wish you'd pressed record. Yeah, back to back to the sirs and the wild takes. So yeah, matching dubbing with ADR is just that, my friend. Sotal and volume, rhythm, pace, and sur, along with everything else. And yeah, it is criminal to ask an actor to dub. So, but there's nothing much. When you
Exactly,
got
I
to do
agree
it,
with it.
when you have to dub, you have to dub. There's no two ways.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like that.
Okay.
Yes, I hope I've answered that question.
And if we are done
Yeah.
with
Yeah.
the comments, yeah.
Thanks for
So
saying the ADR is a criminal activity, man.
I'm sorry.
sorry, sorry.
Thanks for saying dubbing is a criminal activity. I
Yeah,
support
it
that.
is. It is. I was just telling Arifer in the day, you're getting a human being to emote, and that person is projecting energy. That person is projecting visual energy by moving around the room, and that person is also saying something or doing something which you have not harnessed then and there. You are telling
Mm.
that person to go to a studio and again feel like a psychopath. Isn't that criminal?
True.
I mean, or feel sad or cry or एक बार already कर दिया ना. And like it or not, when you're on set, at least that feeling of being a big businessman in a nice glass office or a big king in a big palace, even if it's a fake palace, that feeling at least comes into your artists remotely, which is where you should might as well harvest that energy and not waste it and ask. And then on top of it, criminal procedure, you're going to the studio and saying, sir, please do it again, or ma'am, please cry again. What is this? It's not right. But you have to do it when you have to do it, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Arif, I
So
had a question.
yeah, yeah. Please go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah, Vinit. So recently we have seen this environment where everyone is now aware of how a camera functions. People talk about filters or color correction or aperture or things like that. But the education in terms of sound is still missing. And even the critics talk about the BGM, the music, cinematography, but hardly anyone speaks about the sound design process, right? Why do
That's
you
the
think?
story of our. That's the story of our lives. Arifar, I told you most of my stories start 13.7 billion years ago.
Yeah.
So this one starts a little after that, just around where the humans evolved. As in, we came from monkeys, right? So we have evolved with our eyes in front and ears in the side.
Yeah.
We have lost the capacity to move these around. Okay, but from childhood and from inception, we have been hearing our mother's voices in their wombs. After we grew up, we know if I shut my eyes, I know which way I have turned now, which way not, or if something is coming from my right or my left, because I've been listening. Now all of us humans have not been listening, unfortunately. We have been busy with dialogue and with making money and with conversations. Uh, I learned this from a cat actually. Also from a cat. So we had a cat at the studio, and after lunch I'd take my little break. So this cat of ours used to come have a lunch and rest post lunch. You can't disturb a cat's sleep, no. So it used to be sleeping, and I'd be sitting there, and I'd also be listening to what's happening and how she's reacting. It was. So there'd be some leaf shuffle. So the cat would first lift one ear and wait. If there's a successive crunch, then depending on the kind of crunch, human or dog, then she will bother to get up and see, is there danger? No danger, go back to sleep. If it's a human, if it's a dog, then she will get up and get ready to run because arey bhagna pad sakta hai. So animals are under constant threat. We humans have built walls. We are safe in societies. We are not bothered about hearing. Now we are bothered about who said what, who killed whom, who did when, how, why. इसने क्या किया, उसने क्या किया. So by default, 98% of our population is not listening, which is what is required for good writers, and which is what is required for better humans. I think actually we should have we have no time to stand and stare. Forget hearing. famous poet said once, right? Yeah. So I think it was Wordsworth, if I'm not wrong. Yes. So staring तो दूर की बात है, हम तो सुनने का तो भूल ही जाओ. So basically, yeah, awareness is less, and once that increases, automatically it's a different. Then now it has almost become like a different world. It's not a different world; it's the same world we are living in. It's just about being a little aware about things around you.
And
So yeah,
what's
that
up
I
with
learned.
loud mixes in Bollywood movies?
I have no idea. sometimes you got to do what you got to do, and you have to go a little criminal. Like sometimes you have to ADR, sometimes you have to push up the volume because you're doing a masala film, and your actor. It is a tight song, and you need to do what you need to do. Then you go to the right people to do the right things. But I don't prefer. I prefer nicer, softer, more feeling based. Not like, yeah, not my cup of chai. Loud mixes.
Yeah. Did
I
you
think
ever
there are a
work
lot.
for television commercial? Because the mixing is totally different for TVC.
Yeah, I do know a number of people in that line. That being said, commercials I have an ethical issue with,
Mm.
because I've not done a lot of commercials, very few. Although there's very good money, but my ethical issue is that if you need to advertise, it means you're not good enough. So conceptually, every ad is like kind of lying. Every
Wow.
I
ad
still
lies, no? कि भाई, this is iPhone, my god, this is the best thing in the universe. अरे भाई. So I've had a moral. I need to answer back to the person in the mirror. I look at him very rarely, though. I hardly look at a mirror, as you can see. But अपने आप को जवाब देना पड़ता है रात को. So I am answerable to myself, if not the world. So conceptually, I have never gotten into ads because it's just, and it was too much money, man. So I was like, no, no, ये नहीं चाहिए. एक तो झूठ बोलेगा, ऊपर से पैसा भी मिलेगा, वो तो गलत है ना. So I've never bothered with ads, but yeah, they are, and they are also required to push things up because your client won't agree. Very simple. So you need to have it playing that loud on every device. In spite of your channel following a particular spec, suddenly your ad will be some other mix only. So it is mixed and compressed that way, so that optimum dynamics across all speakers, from phone to headphone. So it tends to, when you have a better set of headphones on, then it tends to hurt.
Yeah. Yes, Shreya.
Another hope. I
And
hope I answered that.
Yeah, yeah.
since you mentioned about
And
ethics,
Yeah.
do they also come in the middle of choosing projects or genres or anything like reading the scripts and having an ethical
No,
problem?
like I told you what Mr. Raj Moole told me a long time ago, dude. You can't say no to stuff. You got to say yes to everything, because it's not like you are some, lord of some place, that work will come to you. So you take whatever comes your way. But
So
now,
in
yeah,
films,
now
yeah.
ethically, yeah, I don't do bullshit by policy. So if you want me to, then please excuse me. That's my simple policy. And the moment I sense that something is not right, then I'd rather exit than not be able to answer myself. So yeah,
And I think we cannot end the session before asking a lockdown question.
which is what.
So,
Yeah.
like, how is? I mean, I've had friends recording so many things, and it has been so silent over the past 2 months. What have you been doing?
I have been doing complete housekeeping. Like we say, हम बीजेपी के काम में बिजी है, बर्तन झाड़ू पोछा एंड कपड़ा. So that's a little joke floating around on the WhatsApps.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
yeah, but it's been a while, and yeah, my wife's been very busy, so I've been filling in. Plus, I was on a shoot, so it's not like I was looking at any. There was no particular plan in place. So I got free from the shoot since we had to stop. So there was nothing to do. I'd rather keep myself fit. Otherwise, you know, unfit is not good either. So I'd rather stay on with the housekeeping. Yes. Apart from that, that's my lockdown story.
Hmm.
Not making videos and recordings. Although, yeah, we have been discussing case. It's like in Bombay, like right now, sound recordists and sound designers are mad and going crazy to shoot because there's no traffic.
Yeah.
And finally, when we get no traffic, you can't shoot because it's a god fucking virus around. So,
Yeah.
so yeah, it's like a very catch-22 situation. You're getting no traffic,
Yeah.
but you can't shoot. But yeah, that's how the law. I have done some recordings, and there's this very interesting app that I have gotten. I like birds, and I'm into bird calls and stuff like that also. So this one called Merlin Bird ID I discovered very recently. It's a brilliant one. So sitting wherever you're sitting across the world, it'll download your local database,
Hmm.
and you could have heard something or seen a bird and looks a particular manner, and then I've learned quite a few bird names over Pataal Lok. They were birds. I used to call birds metronome birds, and today I know it's the coppersmith barbet. You know, so that has been haunting me since the last 15 years in FTI. I remember at the Shantaram pond side, get up in the morning, you hear this one bird going.
Yeah.
So I used to call it the metronome bird. But now, of late, I learned it's called the coppersmith barbet. So yeah, good fun. So
Good one.
Merlin has been keeping me busy also. Yeah,
And can you
lockdown.
talk about some of your favorite sound professionals from India or outside? Designers, artists.
Ah, many of them. One immediate one is obviously Ben Burt and Randy Thompson. Andy Thom is another crazy man. Who else? Directors, more
I think he
like.
writes a lot of blogs, right? And lots of
Yeah.
films.
Randy Thom writes a lot. Yeah. And yeah, it's fun to learn from people across. Even in India, Vinod Subramaniam, like I told you, he's another genius of another kind. And not very many I've interacted with, but yeah, the little that are around. I really like what Gera does. Neeraj Gera is another madman. The guy who, I mean, he's been my mentor and Bhagwan all this while. So his work I really love. And a few contemporaries, Vivek Sachidanand is another name who does some really excellent work. And there's Dwarak Warrior, who's also Vinod's batchmate. And who else?
Or you can name the
Numerous,
film
numerous.
as well, if not the people.
Films, numerous films, yeah, films with good sound design, like Ben Burt and Wally and all of his Star Wars, all of them. So yeah, that and who else? Who else? Who else? Tarkovsky with Stalker, like
Hmm.
a different, totally different zone. The David Lynch and his films, Danny Boyle and his films.
Yeah.
Uh, Requiem, for example, that was another mad one.
Hmm.
And who else? Who else? Who else? Yeah, there've been quite a few. I'm really bad with names, and that's my
That happens. Yeah.
yeah, that's my major issue. I tend to yeah, unless somebody or something makes a difference to me, then my brains don't tend to register. Like now, I know you guys really well because we've been like chatting for the last two few hours. But yeah,
Yeah, I think we almost, crossed the border of the time. It's 2 hours.
oh
So
wow,
yeah, I would love to ask both of you, Shajib Bhai and Vinit, one last question. It's pretty much philosophical.
hmm
Um, I did my first feature film in Bangladesh, and that was the 100% location sound film, and it was quite a great experience. And Anish was the sound designer of that film. And during that time, I witnessed like he always put the headphone and everything is going on in around, and he is like sitting like a saint, like a philosopher, listening and observing. And then Shajib Bhai, and then Nahid Masood, he's the senior sound designer from Bangladesh. And also I worked with some, Bob Shushmit Bob
yeah,
Nath.
yeah, I know
I
Bob
worked,
very well. Yeah, yeah,
yeah, so I worked with him also,
okay.
and now Vinit. So I felt like, you are the people who actually, observing everything silently and listening everything. And sometimes I think it complicate the life also, like your own life, while you are going back to your home or your own uh, time, and then how you combine, how you sync, because it's total chaos then. Because during the set it's quiet because you are on the like terrace, or in a
Controlled.
in a like, yeah, control. And I think sometimes it's very frustrating for you too. And I know so many sound designer, like they really at one point they just left the job because of the pressure. So what is the like situation of you two? Like, do you want to quit this job sometimes, or like no?
Right.
Be
It's a really
honest.
difficult question, man. Like it's a really difficult question. But one documentary is there called A Few Sound Men, where Vinodda is there, Vinod Subramanian, A Few Sound Men. There is a documentary
Hmm.
on YouTube. It says there, sound guy, my one guy does sound after everything is done. It's like everything he has done, he has failed in everything. Then comes the sound.
So if not this, then God knows what.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Neither you love it. Neither you love it. Like like I don't want to do anything. I want to do anything. And neither you come to it after failing everything. Like oh, well, I mean, like it's a different world. Like we have to be simultaneously in two worlds. One world is with you guys, and one world is with ours. Like one world is like the director and the whole crew, and like how I'm managing it, and how like are they satisfied or not. And one world is mine, like how I'm listening to it, and how I'm like coping up with it. So there will be like contradictory things going on. Like you balance with it. That's from my side. How like I want to like to listen Vinny about that also.
Yeah,
And
same. I mean, I have a policy. I mean, my ears are yours if you're paying me. Otherwise, they are mine. I listen to what I want. So
Yeah.
basically,
and also
yeah,
and, and also for Vinit, I want to add, like, you don't care about money, so
no, doesn't
there
matter.
is no motivation for money to work in this industry
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
after
If
so
it
much.
was, then I'd be wearing a suit and a tie, and I'd also have done some. I mean, I'd be in London with my brothers working.
Yeah. Thanks for
Do you
the
have
advice, man.
any regrets? Any regrets? Do you have any regrets?
I have always tried to live every moment not wanting to have any regrets. So, touch wood, I can say I have no regrets. But that being said, it's not an ideal world. I am not like Bhagwan Sri, whoever. So of course I do have some regrets, but yeah, there's little you can do about it. So why boil your blood over it?
Nice.
Yeah, nice.
Correct.
And
Shreya,
Arif bhai,
any last thing? Yeah.
And
Arif
last
bhai,
thing,
I would really thank Night bhai for the whole thing because like he supported me a lot. Without him, I cannot walk so far after I met you guys from coming back from India. So please also say something for him, introduce him.
No, definitely. Actually, I was planning with Bijon, like there will be one special session after this session. I think this is really important to establish the idea of sound designing and the importance of sound designing in the workflow. So there will be one particular session, like special session for sound. There will be Nahid Masood, and also I will invite Anish. Yeah, and we will take two different cases. One Mati Puja Deshe, the first feature film that I did, and another one will be like Nahid Bhai did, directed by Tarek Masood. Anyone. So it will be really practical thing. Yeah, and I'm announcing this through this program, and the people who are listening, I think they will wait for it. Yeah,
Yeah, that should
and
be good.
Thank you.
Shreya, any
and last question would be about the future of sound. So
future of
yeah, we are having yeah, because we have gaming, we have audiobooks and web series coming and new technologies every day. So where do you see it going for sound professionals and sound?
I think it's a great time right now because the future with respect to I mean there's obviously VR and AR and VR and AR are almost history now. Because
Hmm,
I mean, gaming has obviously has always been a very I mean, it's a different zone altogether because it's fantasy land.
yeah,
But I don't know. My feeling is now with all of your with your omnidirectional recordings coming in, various arrays to record various sounds in various places and various rigs available, and if you're going ambisonics A format, B format, or if you're going second order, third order, I mean it's crazy.
Yeah.
uh, that being said, again, what you're finally doing is so you could be doing a complete VR film, but you could choose to be miking up your artist because there's no other way you can plant mics anywhere else or have a boom in frame or whatever else, or again, depending on what you're doing, you may fall back on older technologies because eventually in the mix you don't know what you want your audience to hear. You want that voice also clear, that voice also clear, plus if you're going room to room and you want perspectives to shift and some music playing from there, then I mean it's like it's going all over the place. So, and
hmm,
there's I mean it's looking like a good place because machines are getting faster, technology is getting faster to be able to handle that much more data and processing and all of that. There's no escape, and not just with respect to sound. This is even with respect to the even picture.
Yeah.
So to handle more and more and more case and more case and multiple environments and blending and this and that, and so it's quite a mad place. It's not just about films or Bollywood. So yeah, even I mean you can get into designing sounds for cars, for example. There are the bigger German car companies, they actually sit and design because you have such a quiet cabin that you got to have that dipper sound so nice and sweet that the person sitting inside finds it to be pleasant. So there's also stuff like that you can do. So depends on, yeah, how lucky you get.
Great.
but definitely we are lucky to get you in this show. Thank you so
Thank
much,
you, thank you.
and
Same here. It's been a very
it was
pleasant
really
and a very, very fast 2 hours we have managed. Haven't realized.
yeah, and I'm really sorry about the internet connection.
No worries.
It was really bad, but yeah, definitely at the end it's good. Thank you so much, Vinit. Thank you so much, Shajib
Thank
Bhai,
you.
and Shreya. You just saved the show today,
So
and I knew that, and I knew that.
Good to have a co-pilot.
Yes, yes, yeah.
next time
Thank
I am
you.
having the coffee.
Next time you have the internet trouble, yes. Thank you,
Yeah.
Arifai, for organizing this. Yeah, thank you so
Thank
much
you,
for
and I
having me
salute
on.
you. Thank you, and I
Yes,
hope
Thank you so
there
much.
will be definitely some collaborative work, not only
hundred
talks,
percent,
but yeah.
100%, 100%.
Thank you. Bye.
Okay,
Thank
thank
Bye,
you
you.
buddy.
all. Bye bye. Good night.
ভালো
Take
থেকো,
care.
ভালো থেকো,
Bhalo theko.
ভালো ভালো
Last
থেকো.
word in Bangla.
Bhalo theko.
Bye.
So, goodbye.
দেখা
Peace
হবে।
out. Peace out. Dekha hobe.